My name is Dr. Cynthia Olivo, and I am the Associate Vice President for Student Affairs here at Pasadena City College, and I'd like to welcome you to Jaime Escalante, A Life con Ganas opening reception. It was around 3 years ago that we were approached by Mr. Jaime W. Escalante, and he said that he wanted to honor his father. He was at the point of his own process in grieving that he wanted to figure out a way to honor his dad, and he told me how much his father loved Pasadena City College. And so we were really fortunate that he came to our college to ask if we could partner with him to do something to honor his dad. So as we get started tonight, I'd like to extend a formal welcome. We have our interim superintendent president, Dr. Bob Miller.
It is an honor, a pleasure, and just a wonderful experience to be here today, and on behalf of our great college to welcome you. Before I kind of say just a few very brief words, I want to do some quick introductions. We have at least three of our board members here tonight that I've been able to identify. We have our board president, Berlinda Brown. In the back of the room, we have our board vice president, Ms. Linda Waugh. And we have our board secretary, but our clerk, I should say, and our longtime board member, Dr. Jeanette Mann. We also have in the room with us today, Senator Carol Liu is with us today. Senator Liu? And if there are other dignitaries and such that I've missed, please someone pass me a note and I'd be more than happy to welcome them. You know, this is the culmination of a project that has been born from enormous love and respect for one of the most significant alumni of our institution. We feel all of our alumni are significant, but some go on to do amazing, amazing things. And some go on to leave an indelible mark on our world and our society, and in this case on education, that very few people do. So when the opportunity came to the attention of Dr. Mark Rocha, our predecessor, and our board, and several members of our faculty and administrators and classified staff, that we could somehow, in some meaningful way, honor the memory of such a distinguished man who did so much for so many people, we jumped at it. And one of the things that particularly excited me about this, and I'll do something you should never do, I'll quote something out of Wikipedia. It says here that Jaime Escalante determined to change the status quo, persuaded the first few students who would listen to him that they could control their futures with the right education, that they could take control of their lives, and they could excel in ways that no one ever imagined, because no one believed in them like Mr. Escalante did. One of the things I'm so proud of our college is that we do this every day. We have a number of programs at this college that speak to student success and provide the necessary interventions for students to be successful in ways in which they never thought possible. Their families never thought possible. Society never felt possible. And we make those opportunities available. Today we had our accreditation team visit final exit. I won't bore you with all the details, but the bottom line is we were highly, highly commended on our academic programs, our student success programs, our first-year experience programs, our pathways, all the things that make a difference in people's lives today, and particularly the students that we support. So we continue in the traditions of Jaime Escalante. We continue in the traditions of that fine man, that great man, and the things that he did. And he was one of the pioneers. He set he set us down this path. He graduated from this college in 1969, from Pasadena State College in 1969, having come to here from Bolivia with already degrees and being prepared. But he found the way to persevere. At one point, he even decided that he maybe didn't want to continue in the area of teaching, but he did. He persevered. He went through. So I'm going to end here because there's a long program, but there's two people in particular that I want to do a significant shout out to. One is Dr. Christopher Jimenez West, who would not let this venture die. All right? He was a one-man wrecking ball to make sure that this happened, and he made sure that it did happen. And the other is Dr. Cynthia Levo. Who is so many wonderful things to this campus and to the thousands of students we serve on a daily basis. I'm very grateful to Dr. Levo. So with that said, I think it is now important that I introduce Elizabeth Duran, who is the executive director of the Pasadena Playhouse. And I had the pleasure of meeting Elizabeth, who is a tall person right there. And I want her to come up here and say a few words, and thank you very much for the partnership we have with the Pasadena Playhouse. Thank you.
I am tall. Thank you. We're so honored to be a part of this initiative. At the Pasadena Playhouse, we are a theater company, and we believe fiercely that the artistry of theater can interfere with assumptions. And as our distinguished artistic director, Sheldon Epps, likes to remind us that assumptions can be at the root of prejudice. And so the arts can help to unravel prejudice by placing everyone in a dark room together and experiencing joy or fear, happiness, excitement, entertainment together. There are qualities of the arts that are ethereal and that get to our very souls. We think that these ideas have a lot in common with the ideas of Jaime Escalante. We feel that we have a lot in common with his view of the world. So we could not be more proud to be a participant. The Pasadena Playhouse is working with this exhibition by putting on a presentation of a staged reading of Stand and Deliver. And in his own style, we are bringing students to the stage alongside professional actors. So we have a cast of 20, and 7 of them were auditioned professionally and are rehearsing at the Pasadena Playhouse alongside our own professional actors. And so we're giving students an educational experience, and we're very proud to be doing that. In part, we're doing it through a program called, an initiative called Mi Historia, Mi Manera, which we came up with at the Pasadena Playhouse and received amazing funding from the James Irvine Foundation to continue. So for the next 2 years, we are working in the community, engaging Latinos in the arts, outside our own infrastructure and in the community. And we're very proud that this is one of the initiatives of Mi Historia, Mi Manera. We think that this story is a great story to be told. He told his story in his own style, in his own manner. And his story continues to be told by his family and by our university. And so we're proud to be a part of growing his story in our own style and in collaboration with all of you. I have 2 board members in the room, Abel Ramirez and Valerie Amadon, and I've got 4 staff members and a table over there. We're really excited about this partnership. So thank you very much. Please come the 19th of March at 7 p.m. It's free and there are tamales.
Next, I'd like to call to the stage one of our partners in this effort that we were able to identify right here in Pasadena, to our surprise. The Foundation for Advancement in Science and Math, represented by Keith Miller.
Thank you. It's my pleasure and all of my cohorts at the foundation that I work at to be part of this. Thank you for having us be part of this. Jaime would love this. I have had the privilege of working with him and becoming friends with him and his family, and I'm just so pleased to be part of this. And he is such a great guy to work with. I mean, he was a hard taskmaster. He wanted you to do your homework, but he was very playful. And he would come up with nicknames for people, and mine was Miller Lite. And he could get away with it because he loved people so much. He could call a kid in his classroom Kung Fu, and he could do that. And I don't think political correctness ever came on his radar screen. But this is so important that it carries his mission, and working with Jaime's family and his son Jaime, and who's been wanting to carry forward these things is just terrific. And I can't say enough about Dr. West and Dr. Olivo and Reina, and just what a wonderful team. And the legacy of PCC is just incredible, and that Jaime's part of that. He would be proud. And his students had a nickname for him, and it was Chemo. And I think right now, Chemo's going, this rocks, this is great. So thank you very much, and I hope you enjoy the exhibit. We provided a lot of photos. One of the things I had the privilege of doing just recently was going through literally thousands of photos that we have from working with Jaime over the years. And wow, it was such a pleasure. And we want to continue to do what we can to help, and look forward to our continuous relationship with PCC and everybody else who has the passion. We also have 3 of our board members here. So Jack Dearman, Ray Beato, and Linda Lorenzen are here. And we have students from Jaime's class that are here, and we're doing interviews outside of the museum, video interviews. So come see us. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And next, I'd like to call to the podium a woman who's worked extremely hard on this project. And she's no stranger to PCC. She has been curating the art that exists in the Latino Heritage Room here in our very own library. Our curator for this show, Reina Prado.
Hello, everyone. How are you feeling? All right. How are you feeling? There we go. Welcome to Pasadena City College. Welcome to the Circadian and to Jaime Escalante, A Life con Ganas. It's been an extreme honor and pleasure to work with it. And as you can see, I'm getting emotional standing up here, working with Jaime, or Jaimito, as he was lovingly called by his parents. And to just go into the archive, that's what I love as a historian, as a curator, that we get to be with the object, honor the object. And so that's what we try to do here, is to tell his story, his experience, in many ways, pre and post Stand and Deliver. I came to know him through that movie, and it was just an awe. And my mom got a sneak preview, and she's like, wow, if I would have had him as my teacher, I probably would have learned calculus too. So, he was just that kind of teacher. But he taught us how to be passionate and fearless educators, and to really, create our own models. For me, this is a very special show as well, because I am an alum of PCC, and if it wasn't for teachers, and if it wasn't for teachers and counselors are important. If it wasn't for teachers and counselors, mine was Kathleen Rodarte, who just, they keep an eye on you. They follow you. And so she brought me back to curate in the Chicano Latino Heritage Room. And I was like, sure, why not? So I've been doing it since 1999. Time flies. And it's been a great honor to at least interject contemporary art and our cultural experiences here from Los Angeles at Pasadena City College. And now we did it in grande with this show. And so it's been an honor and a pleasure. Thank you so much for entrusting us with your father's work.
And next, this is an addition to our program tonight. We had one of our math professors who organizes a fabulous event called Pi Day. So it's like a whole day of just celebrating math. And so our professor, Yu Cheng Hao, has 4 students who have created posters. And if you want to come and make your way up here, just to share some of your insights with us, I'd really appreciate that. And so, along with our students who are exploring Jaime Escalante and his teaching methods and their love of math, we also have one of his former students who's here to share with us tonight her own experience learning from Mr. Escalante. She is now an educator and an administrator in K-12, and could you please help me welcome Elsa Bolado.
Hello. Actually, if there are any others Jaime Escalante alum, I would love for you to come up here. Come on down. Come on down. Come on, Eileen. Emma. Let's see. Who else? Yay. We call ourselves the Alpha and the Omega because, and I'm here. Yes. Come on down. Okay. So I am from the class of 1982, the infamous class. But like my mother said, no hay mal que por bien no venga. In Spanish, in English, that would mean that bad things appear to be bad, but good things come out of them. So it was one of the worst moments in my life. But it ended up being the best thing for Garfield and for Escalante and for all Latino kids and all education. So Eileen is also from the class of 82, and she's actually one of the characters that is vividly portrayed in the movie. You know, I think it's Anna, the real smart little girl. That's half of Eileen, and the other half was Leticia Rodriguez. So that was accurate in the movie. And then we have Angel, who followed us. Right, he's a lawyer now, and Eileen is an entrepreneur. She has her master's MBA from USC, Business Administration. And then, what comes first, Alpha or Omega? Alpha and then Omega, because she's the last of the class of where Jaime Escalante taught 1991, right? And she's an architect for LACO and builds schools, right? That beautiful campus on the campus of Cal Poly, designed by our very own Gema, and the one on Cal State, right? The arts school. So unlike the movie, we were not like the movie students. We were your high-achieving, honors, college-bound students whose parents really supported us and promoted education. But then like Jaime, like Mr. Escalante and Eddie almost said, well, you know, it's 95% truth and 5% Hollywood. So that 5% Hollywood became like the image of the students. But think about it, who takes calculus in high school, right? It wouldn't be your gangbanger student. And to learn that level of math in 1 year is really impossible unless you're a genius. So maybe altogether we're geniuses, but but nonetheless, it doesn't take away from his genius, from his just gift of just being a organic educator. His love and passion for people, for kids, for the Latino community. He could have taught anywhere. He could have done anything. And I think that's the biggest inspiration that he gave us as a teacher, as a friend, as a human being, as a counselor, as a mentor, was that he really made us proud to be Latino. You know, you're in East LA. I said I wasn't going to cry, and you said you started it. I always get passionate because, you know, not only my love and respect for him, but as an educator of how impactful our jobs are and what we can do for kids in the future. And so he was one of the first. I mean, I'm 100% Mexicana. I was born in Tijuana, but I never knew I came from the Mayans and the Aztecs and that I had Mayan blood in my veins. He was the first to tell me, and it didn't click until I got to UCLA. And then somebody said, you want to join Mecha? And, because Viva la Raza and all this. And I was like, what? Then I put it all together, and I was remembering his stories and how he always would say, you are going to be judged by the color of your skin and your last name, and you are the first, because many of us were the first in college. And so even though we were the college bound, the honor students, the odds are so stacked against us to even make it to college, let alone through college. And yet he continued to be a mentor even, till the day that he passed away. And so he is truly, truly an inspiration. And, the fact that Mr. Miller mentioned that he had names for us, that really showed that he knew us. Like we had El Greñas. He came out in your wedding. He was in the marching band with me, long hair. La Lombriz, another real thin one. With me, I remembered him yesterday. He would say, la que quiere hacer todo y nunca va a hacer nada si no se enfoca. And that means that the one that wants to do everything, because I was involved in everything, and I wouldn't accomplish anything if I didn't focus. And yesterday, I remembered him, and I told my staff, I said, Escalante is ringing in my brain because I was everywhere. I'm a principal. And it's just, you wear so many hats and so many emotions in one day, and I thought, okay, focus. Finish one thing and then move on to the next. And that's, Escalante has always stayed with me because we do need to focus. And in terms of an anecdote, as an educator, now my anecdotes are about teaching. And somebody asked me, is he still relevant now with the Common Core and with all the expectations? And I'm like, definitely. Definitely. From the moment that he would stand at the door to greet us, you wouldn't dare walk in without your quiz completed or your homework. From the moment that we would sit down and we would take the notes the way he told us to take them, because he was prepping us for a test. He was very savvy. We studied 10 years of tests. We knew answers by memory. We had solved so many tests. But it wasn't just about the test. It was about the life skill of focusing and just giving it ganas and being determined and problem solving together and teamwork and not giving up and being accountable to him, to our parents, to each other. And the teamwork that we saw, he was a hard man. He was. You don't mess around in his class. It's like, I don't care how smart you are, he would tell me, I don't care, where you are planning on going tomorrow. If you don't come to my class, you're not going to take the test. So he did kick me out of his class a week before the test because I had been accepted to Pomona Claremont and I needed to go to the orientation. And so I asked my sister, who was in his first attempt, the class who first attempted to take the test, she goes, no, you have to go to your orientation. So I told my counselor, and he says, go to your orientation. So the next day I come back and I step one foot in the class, he goes, get out and go to the office. You don't mess around with me. I told you that if you don't take my class seriously, you are not taking that test. That was the only time I cried in high school. I cried to my counselor, I have to take this test. So he went up, Chemo, you have to let her take the test. She's worked very hard. But, it's just how passionate and how serious he took what he did. And it's always stayed with all of us. And when he passed away, we formed the Jaime Escalante Alumni Foundation. And it's in its third year, being that it's going to be his third year of passing. And what we wanted to do was to just keep that legacy alive. Now there's a building after him at Garfield. But just to keep it alive and to let people and kids know how important it is to be that role model, to be that inspiration, and to be proud of who you are, to be proud of being from Garfield, from East LA, and it doesn't matter where you come from. It's it's how you continue walking that path throughout life that's going to matter. So I am so proud and thankful. We envisioned this when Jaime Jr. went and brought all his belongings from Bolivia, and I wish your mom would be here. She's a beautiful woman, and your kids are here. And one day when you get as old as I am, you're going to think, wow, that was my grandpa. So thank you, everybody. Thank you very much.
Okay, so these are our very own students who are being influenced by Jaime Escalante. So these are Jaime Escalante students, and we'll have them introduce themselves and tell about their poster.
My poster, it's two parts. There's one, this one here with the color photo. That kind of has like the history of like where he grew up and kind of like how he first, like when he first got to Garfield, and how originally he didn't really want to be a teacher. He had he was already working at another job. But then when he got to Garfield, it turned out that that they didn't really have an advanced math program. The principal wasn't very welcoming to giving the students anything that he thought that was a little too, that he felt was too hard for them to be able to get. But Jaime Escalante was able to convince them that most the students could do it. So I believe he started with like 15 students. I'm sorry if I don't know all this information correctly. And but eventually, with the years, he was able to like double it. And then he ended up having another colleague with him, and they were able to after so many years, they were able to have about 400 students that were taking calculus before he left Garfield High. And here, these are his awards that he received. The most one that thank you. In 1988, he received the Presidential Medal for Excellence in Education, and that was given to him by President Ronald Reagan. And there's lots of awards that he was given, and the last award that he was given was the best teacher in North America, and that was by the Freedom Forum. I want to be a teacher. I want to teach high school history or social science, and I grew up with that movie like since I was like 8 years old. So I don't even think we had a VCR to even like rent it. I think we watched it on PBS. So it was kind of like it was weird because like the parts would get really intense, but then it breaks to a commercial. So and then you have to wait 20 minutes. But we stuck through it because it was really, really good. I loved that movie. So all the characters are great, but yes, I do understand that a lot of it was from the research, like he said, 10% of it was a lot of like Hollywood, as in like that they wouldn't be able to be there, if he wouldn't be giving anybody having them take calculus if they wouldn't be able to multiply. So I like taking that concept, and yeah, that is true. But he inspired me since I was little. Thank you.
And next, I'd like to welcome to the stage Mr. Jaime W. Escalante, who is also an alumni of PCC.
I didn't write a speech, but I want to thank you all, first of all, for this coming to this occasion. It's a first of its kind. And for me, it's like a dream come true, because I had this desire, this goal to make something of my father's past, and of course he could be remembered by, but also to be like a light, you could say, to guide others. And especially in the area of education, which is so important. But I am a ex-former student, and I believe Dr. Miller actually and I went to the same high school. I think we're in high school. It's really interesting how things work out, because you never know how things turn out in life. Who would have known, from us and our family, that my father, first of all, would have been, so accomplished and have the success that he had with his students at Garfield High School, and then making a movie out of him. These things just played out, and now here. We have this first of its kind exhibit opening to the public, and again, I'm very thrilled and very happy, and thank you for joining me, on this venture. I really appreciate your presence. The bell is ringing. I think it's time to go to class. Would that be a math class by any chance? Well, I do have memories from attending this college back then in the 1970s. Of course, it was a little bit different than it is today. This building back here, for example, I think it's a library. I don't know, but it used to be a library. And I walked there so often up the stairs and to study. My father was, like a very big influence on in that regard. He obviously, told me, he kind of, said that, Jaimito, you should probably do like this. Go to, Pasadena City College, which was the obvious choice here, living in Pasadena, and then, transfer to Cal Poly, and that's what I did. I went to Cal Poly, got my bachelor's, and and then I got a job. I was looking to get into NASA, JPL, but I, being kind of naive, I had accepted another offer, real quick, and then JPL calls me, but I just told them, I'm sorry, I'm already working. I think going back in time, I said, okay, I think I have a better job at JPL. Maybe I could have been maybe even working together with Thomas Valdez, who has left. He was here a little earlier, one of my father's former students. He works at JPL. He also, I believe, teaches part-time at Cal Poly Pomona. And then there's Sergio Valdez. And they're not for others, but they both work at JPL. Anyway, I don't know. I just I think I better maybe quit because there are other people that want to probably talk. And thank you again for this. This, and thank you, Dr. Olivo. I want to thank, of course, obviously all to help to put together this big, for me, big event. Again, Dr. Jimenez West, Dr. Olivo, Reina Prado, and everybody else, which I'm sorry I'm missing naming at this moment. Thank you very much.
We're very fortunate to also have been joined tonight by the mentee of Mr. Jaime Escalante, who learned the teaching methodology. And that is a lot of what this is about for us, is to celebrate teaching and learning. And so if we could have Angelo Villavicencio, if you'd like to give a few words. Mr. V. We like your jacket.
This was the last gift that I got from Jaime, from Kimo, back in 1991 when he left Garfield High. But other than that gift, the greatest one I got from him was to let me restate my soul as a teacher who loves teaching. That's what I got from him. He just instilled in me that sense of giving hope to kids who wanted to succeed, but nobody told them anything about it. Kids who had the great talents, and nobody told them anything about it. Kids who were thrown to the streets, and nobody told him anything about their dignity, their smartness, their big talents that they possessed. And that, I saw Kimo, and I lived with him, through so many years as partners, my mentor. And he's delayed, and, he was a luminaria for me, for many of the students. I keep saying to people, there is a statement that we always throw in the air as educators and about education, that we believe in education. And let me tell you one thing about Kimo. He did not believe in education. He had faith in education. Let's separate these two. One is religious faith, and the other one is a belief. And that's what he had in his soul, the religious faith in education. He never glimpsed once or twice that this was going to be the way to succeed for these kids. He knew that everything was about education for the barrio kids, for the black kids, for the brown kids, for any kid who wanted to succeed in life, no matter what race, what color, education is the guide, the one that will provide anybody with new horizons, with new looks in life. And that's what he believed. You know, he had that faith. I learned that. He said, wow, this is what it's all about. Faith in your student, faith in education. And I'm so happy. I am so happy that I worked with him. He gave me the torch. I created a program as good as the one at Garfield. I was very successful. I had a national award as one of the outstanding calculus teachers in the nation from the College Board. Thank you. And when I got that, you know, I got in touch with him and he said, Mr. V, that's the way he used to call me. You know, that's the only award I wish I had. The rest were politics. You know, if you knew him, that's the way he talked. And I said, wow. And I'm so proud of you that you had done a greater job than I had. And I am so blessed that you were part of my life. And I said, well, my blessing is that I got to know you, I got to love you, respect you, and admire you, and I hope I never let you down. And thank you very much.
And joining us today all the way from Wisconsin, or Wisconsin, if I could say like my friend Crystal, Dr. Gratias, who was the principal of Garfield High School during the time frame that Mr. Escalante was a teacher. So let's welcome our friend from Wisconsin.
All the way from Wisconsin. My wife said it snowed 4 inches yesterday, and it's down to about 0. Aquí estoy. I want to make this short because I knew Escalante when he came in after he graduated from here, after he got his teaching credential. I entered Garfield in 1972. I had been a teacher at Washington High School for 4 years. And I asked I wanted to come and teach the barrio. I said, you know, come on, I grew up. I went to Bradford Junior High School. I graduated from Roosevelt High School. Yeah, I know. Well, yeah, guess what the Roosevelt people said to me when I became principal of Garfield? You're a traitor. At the football games, I would sit halftime at one school, you know, to be friends. Anyway, in 1973-74 school year, Escalante came in to teach math. And I was a teacher of biology, and I met him in the hallways because he said to me, he said, you know, estos vatos, they come in here and they mess up the rooms. And so he and I got keys to close the 700 building and little buildings during the lunchtime. And so I got to know him very, very closely, and we got together to share. He said to me, well, how do you handle some of these tools que no quieren, no bring? I said, look, I teach biology. And I'm really heavy now because I'm good at that. I love it. And I have all these experiments. And he said, well, what do you do? So we started working on experiments and whatnot. He was fantastic in the use of material, teaching aids. So I worked with him for those 2 years. At the end of those 2 years, what happened is that Garfield High School had a problem in accreditation. And so they moved some of the administrators out. They brought somebody else in. That's when Pasamato came with his group, you know. And we had a very nice practice. I was the only one that the staff, with Escalante's push, ordered that they keep me and make me administrative dean. Well, I wasn't involved. I didn't have my master's. I mean, I just had my teaching credential, and that's all I had. And my bachelor's from UC Davis. I was in agriculture, you know. I was working up in the farms. Latinos do this kind of work. But I was a manager. I managed a big ranch, you know, 1,000 acres of fruit and almonds and whatnot, so I was getting good pay. But because Hughes took it over, I decided that I want to teach. Well, anyway, I started there, and they made me administrative dean with the requirement that I only have 2 years at that position, which is administrator, that unless I got my master's degree in working in administration, and unless I passed the AP exam in a high level so that I would be able to become an assistant principal, legitimate, I would go back to teaching. Well, I said, yeah, that sounds good. So I did. I went to Cal State LA, right there close to where I live. I lived in Alhambra. Cal State LA, got my master's degree, got everything I was supposed to get, took the test, and I passed up to be, I think, number 10. Well, since the first 5 were already principals, that brought me right up. So anyway, after being one semester there at Jackson, Jackson High School, there was the school where they had these kids that had problems, I went to Garfield. And I'll never forget when I was in my room in June, you go there a little early and whatnot, and the other principal had left. Escalante comes into my door, no knocking, no nada, abre la puerta, and he says, "Oh, congratulations, gracias." He gave me the biggest hug I've ever received. And you know what he said to me? I'll never forget those words. "Now we can do it, sir. Now we can do it." Because we knew each other. What would I deny this individual? Nothing, because I already had worked with him. I knew his ganas. I knew how he treated kids. Yeah, we worked initially in the discipline of the school as far as discipline was concerned with kids out of class and whatnot. But when we moved, and that was the year that these kids had been tested, and for whatever reason they invalidated the tests. This was ridiculous, and I was there. The school had already was in jeopardy of accreditation. They came so low that they gave us 1 year to redo it, or else they'd lose it. Do you know what it means to lose an accreditation? This college is known because I was here watching the accreditation process and just finished. So I can feel for that, And I said, we have to do everything possible to get as many years as we possibly can. Escalante was key. So you don't know, but Escalante was key in getting his department and science working together to get these programs so that when the accreditation team came, we had all that work for them. We had all those statistics and stuff. So I said, my gosh, everything is being piled up. Plus the kids, Elsa Bolado, they just heard it. She hated me. She said to me, "You should do something, man. Escalante is being looked at as a bad person, that we cheated, we did this and that. You should." I said, I can't fight it. I have to go along with the process. You're getting like the other politicians. I said, no, if I yell and scream, what's going to happen? They're going to say, no. They opened up our vault. They want to know where everything was. Things began to change. Anyway, there was 18 kids. Only 14 were required to retake it. Of the 14, 2 were already gone. One was in the military. And the commanding officer wrote back and said, "This girl is so great, we don't care what we'll take the initial ones." The other individual, and I don't want to know his name, he was in Princeton. And you know how some of these colleges start with their program in the summer? He was from Garfield High School, who was Princeton, and the professor wrote to me and said, "I'm going to keep him here. There's no way we're going to send him back to retake a test. He's one of my top students here working as a tutor." Really. And I don't know where that letter is, but it says, "We are accepting the original scores sent to us." Oh, that was great. Anyway, we worked very hard for the kids. Since we were in discipline, he would send kids to me and says, "Gradias, you go see, I'm going to send you somebody here because he didn't bring his textbook or he didn't even bring this or the other." And the kid would say, I said, "This is discipline." And I said, if you do this, I'm going to bring you after school, or you're going to have to come in on Saturdays. We have a big Saturday program. For that, I'm not a bad kid. I'm not a vato loco. I don't do graffiti. I said, no. This is discipline. This is academic discipline. You're messing with a top teacher. You're messing with me. You don't bring that stuff. That was discipline. The guy just talked about discipline, the faith and belief that you have in something. Discipline is discipline. And it goes across all fields. Well, my gosh. He would send them to me, and all of a sudden, I would take care of it. But I'm not a bad kid. No, you're a good kid. You better bring your work, or else you know what's going to happen. This is how close Escalante and I got. To the point that when you're going to see, if you see the room, which is the beautiful, called Music Hall 1. And this was a great room that had stairs in it, or steps. It was a music hall. This is where the band was, the all-city band, the marching band. Manyweather was the teacher. And when they built a bungalow for the band, it was a big bungalow. It could take all the band members there, 100, 200, whatever. It had quiet rooms and soundproof rooms so that the people could do their thing. They had room for all of the instruments. Being a big tuba, it was a much better room. What are you going to do with Music Hall 1? It was used for detention during school. Now they call it in-school suspension. Big deal. We had all that junk all in. We had that stuff. It was used for guitars. One period of guitars, 7 kids. Escalante took pictures and mira lo que están usando aquí. And then they had one group, a choral group of girls, about 7 or 8 of them. They sang in Santo Tomas. So that's where they were rehearsed. That room was being underutilized. A huge room like that, and you'll see a picture of it. It was a man. Escalante said, "I gotta have that room." He was in a little room above the library. And I said, "My gosh, You know, when Villavicencio talked about coming down the stairs and up the stairs, the problem was I needed a place where he could stay. He wanted a place where he could park his car, you know, because he was always using it. Or kids were. Anyway, what really occurred was the fact he got the room. Well, Mr. Manyweather was very upset. The union was upset. I've upset everybody, but it's only right. An underutilized room must be utilized. I know that's the contract. So we did it. Lou Pisani was the principal of Lincoln High School. I asked all the principals if they had any blackboards, the green boards or whatever, and we put them up for him. I went with my pickup, my personal pickup, went with him on a Saturday, went with two of you, and got the beautiful blackboards for him, or green boards or whatever. So he had it all around. He wanted a desk, a big one for his experiments. I got that from him. The following year, he wanted air conditioning, and he deserved it. It's a little room, you know, it's a nice room, but it's outside, and it gets hot. Remember the pictures they stand and deliver? Say cool. And it was hot in that room. No air conditioning, and it only had two little doors. So we put in for it. We got turned down. And no matter what I did, we got turned down. Finally, I said, look, the cafeteria is right there. The auditorium is just 35 feet away from his room. You could easily make a little channel, put the cord in for whatever it is, your conduit for 240, and then that's all you need. And then I get the air conditioner. No. Escalante went out, I went out, we got some kind of monies, Shakey's Pizza, and the people, you realize what I got onto? They hate me, the people that sell all these furniture. These people would buy furniture for 2 years, 3 years, 4, and they fall apart. So I said, I'm going to blackball. Nobody's going to come here unless I give you okay. They gave us money. We were able to get enough money to get it done. He had his air conditioning, and he also had everything in there. That's what Escalante means to be, the way to do things I will support. The other teachers got mad? Tough. You give me what Escalante gives me, and I'll help you. And I did. Thank you. Muchas gracias.
Thank you, Dr. Gravias. Next, we'd like to thank our partners. If you notice on the program, we have the President's Latino Advisory Committee, the Student Services Fund, the Association of Latino Employees, the Puente Project, the PCC Cross-Cultural Center, and you've already met our other partners, the Pasadena Playhouse, Mi Historia, Mi Manera, and FACE. And we'd also like to thank MESA, the Math, Engineering, Science Achievement Program. And our PCC Foundation, who sponsored this reception tonight. And what better way to honor Mr. Escalante than to provide scholarships for students in his name? So I'd like to welcome to the podium Chris McPeak from PCC Foundation and Carrie Starbird, our Interim Associate Dean of Math.
This is fun. I'm all fired up about what I do and my job, and I work at a college, and I get to help students, and this is just so neat. Thanks everybody for being here and sharing stories. This has been really nice. I'm Chris McPeak. I serve as the Director of Operations for the Foundation. I do these scholarship workshops for students, and I try to explain to them what the Foundation does. And so to put it in simple terms, we raise money for the college, we take care of money for the college, and then we give money away. And one of the most fun things about what I do is the opportunity to identify students who have worked really hard and have a goal to get their degree and matriculate to a four-year college or have a certificate and go out into the workforce. So it's a great honor, and we're really excited to provide 2 scholarships tonight in the name of Jaime Escalante to students who were identified through our software system, Academic Works, and then Melva Alvarez and Carlos Altamirano and Carrie worked together to identify who these 2 students would be. So the sort of inaugural Jaime Escalante scholarships will be awarded tonight, and Carrie is going to tell you who those fine students are.
So I apologize, I have to read this. Everybody else has done this offhand, but I have my little cheat sheet here. So Jaime Escalante inspired his students to reach beyond their comfort zones by showing them the power of knowledge. There is no denying the legacy he has left to the students that he directly inspired, as well as those who were inspired by his story. As any mathematics instructor can attest, students come to class with their own math story, whether it's the student that declares excitedly, "I love math," or the all too common resolution, "I just can't do math." Math instructors hear it all and try to reach beyond to create a new story of inspiration and success. The two students we are honoring today with the first Jaime Escalante Scholarship have their own stories of inspiration and success. Antonio Salazar. Antonio, can you come up here? Antonio Salazar is a first-generation college student who has traversed his way through our entire lengthy mathematics sequence, beginning in pre-algebra. He has successfully completed 9 math courses here at PCC and is currently finishing up his final math course needed to transfer to Cal State LA in the fall semester as an engineering major. Antonio has worked in the Mesa and Teaching and Learning Centers as a tutor and has been an incredible support mentoring students in both areas. Antonio has amazing potential, not only academically, but also as a true example to our community of how hard work, dedication, and ganas can lead to success. Next up, we have Edward Ramirez. Edward Ramirez graduated from Wilson High School in Los Angeles and quickly transitioned to PCC as a vocational education student in graphics. Soon after, Edward began one of the most important relationships of his life when he took pre-algebra and his love for math unfolded. Although the math path is one that not too many stick to, Edward never gave up, and sure enough, he quickly tackled calculus. Once he met prerequisites for many of the STEM core classes, many doors opened for Edward, including the amazing knowledge that came with immersing himself in physics. Edward will also be transferring to Cal State LA in the fall semester, majoring in engineering. With the ultimate career goal of teaching mathematics. Edward gets his ganas from his amazing dedication his mother has given to get herself and her children ahead. Edward has had his eye on the prize, not just for his success, but so that one day his mother will no longer have to work as hard as she has to support her children.
Our students did not know they were receiving these scholarships. They were told they were finalists tonight, so they're not prepared to speak, but I think that we can call upon their Speech 101 skills so that we can ask them to say a few words of gratitude.
Well, good evening, everybody. This is definitely a surprise for me. I definitely want to thank PCC, the Jaime Escalante event right now that is happening. I mean, this is definitely a surprise to me. It has my emotions running wild. It's definitely helped because honestly, throughout this whole journey in community college, I never had the strength and characteristics to actually be up here and stand up and actually be able to talk to you guys and be able to actually emotionally express myself correctly and not actually have to stutter and have to worry myself that I'm saying something dumb. So I'm definitely one to say that a lot of hard work has been one of the strengths that I have, and is definitely not only the thing that I carry the most, but as well the support that I get from others, not only from my family sometimes, and also from other outside sources like Mesa, Melva, the TLC, Tito, and Brock were definitely big upper changes in my mind and my perception towards education. There was a lot of times that I wanted to give up and fall just because I was the first generation college student, and I never had the real information that was supposed to be given to a student that, like myself, I come from Boyle Heights, which is right next to East LA, just so happens to be. I also graduated from Roosevelt High School. Sorry. What you call it? But I actually had the experience to also say that there was chances of me being a high school dropout, and from two teachers that I had, a history teacher and an English teacher, they motivated me to continue to a college. Now, I wasn't sure which one to choose, and I ended up having to decide between ELAC and PCC. And I can definitely say I am really blessed and happy to have chosen PCC as my college. Now I'm able to continue on and go to Cal State LA. And like it was said already, I'm going to pursue mechanical engineering and definitely probably minor in mathematics in order to teach, because I do see the influence that I do every day when I tutor mathematics at the TLC Center. And I do see the influence and the love that could be shared upon from tutor to student and the student back to the tutor. And it's something that you see in an experience, and it's something that you feel like, it's something that you grasp and you definitely love, and you don't, I don't know, you cherish it. At least I cherish it. Sorry for taking up all the time, but I mean, I want to thank you guys a lot, and thank you. I'll keep working hard.
Hello everyone, or buenas noches a todos. I just want to say thank you to Melva, for giving me this opportunity. Also want to thank the Escalante family, also the PCC Foundation. But I just want to start by saying that, I was once a student that came to PCC, with no idea what to do. I came here in 2008, starting in 2008, and I came here as an art major. And then things just fell apart because I just lost my interest in art. I did things, doing murals and whatnot, like in East LA. Like they had mentioned, I'm a graduate from Wilson, mules. Yeah, but other than that, I just wanted to say that, I came here, and the thing was, like, I didn't have any idea what to do with myself. It wasn't until I was in a math class, actually. I had the professor by the name of Hogue. He was the first professor that actually ever inspired me. He told me that I had potential and that I was smart, and I'm realizing now that as I was in high school, like, nobody really told me anything. And I really, my heart, I feel like belongs here because, I came here and I like they mentioned, I started in Math 402. That's a really low math class. And now I'm taking Math 55 with Tony. And we both have aced our first math exam, so. And it's a total of 10 math classes that I've completed now. So, it's really hard to think, like, how is it you come here, I failed many classes, yes, but the thing was I had that ganas in me, I kept going and I kept fighting, and I also get that inspiration from my mom, and, I just wanted to know that I will take care of you, and well, yeah, I really feel that my time at PCC has taught me a lot, taught me about what it means to be a hard worker, like they were mentioning, you got to study in those weekends, not go out, but rather, go hit the books and go to the library and whatnot. But I also went to Mesa and I grew a lot. I grew a lot. Like, I was not very serious being there around all those people that, wanted the same thing as me. They're first generation. They were going through what I was going through. I'm at home studying calculus, and my grandma and Moco, they're like, "Mijo, ¿qué estás haciendo? ¿Qué es eso? Ya, deja de estudiar." I'm like, "Man, grandma, like, that's not easy, But, they will realize later, and I'm looking at it now, and being a first-generation student, it's really hard because the family, there's like a generation gap, and I want to be able to bridge that gap, and I'm looking to be a professor. I want to teach math, and, thank you.
You know, I like to say miracles happen every day here at PCC, and they do, but they don't happen without amazingly hard work. And these students epitomize what it takes to be successful. I've heard the name Melva Alvarez mentioned many times, and every time we have one of these events, Melva is always mentioned. Melva, you are an unbelievable force of nature on this campus, and you have helped hundreds, if not thousands, of students. And I cannot thank you enough for these are all your kids in so many ways. I've heard the Teaching Learning Center, I've heard Brock Klein, I've heard Tito Altamirano, these are the folks who have followed the spirit of Jaime Escalante on this campus. These are the folks who continue that great, great tradition. And these are the folks who make a difference in thousands of students' lives for years to come. We give great thanks to our Board of Trustees and to so many others for supporting us and giving us some of the seed money that was so important, right, Dr. Mann, to get these programs off the ground. And this was so, so important. And also, I'd be incredibly remiss if I did not thank the PCC Foundation. And I did not thank our Executive Director, Bobby Abrams. Lonnie Shield is in the room, one of our foundation board members, or several board members, I think, in the room. You folks make such a difference because you are the ones who generate the funds to provide last year $600,000 worth of scholarships and more. I need to do a plug. It's a very important plug. We have our PCC Celebrates events, PCC Celebrates Student Success event on May 16th, our first annual fundraiser out in front of the college in the Mirror Pools. It's going to be amazing. It's already amazing. It's already far surpassed our thoughts in terms of monies that we could raise for our students. This college is beloved in this community. So if you haven't bought your ticket yet, if you haven't found a way to volunteer to help, please do. Thank you all very, very much. Cynthia is going to give us a little bit more direction about where we go from here to go see this incredible exhibit. God bless everybody. Thank you very much.
Great. As we prepare to head over to the exhibit, I'd like for all of us to thank the great caterer Abel Ramirez, who's the owner of El Portal. And the festive Bolivian music that you all heard as we were starting our reception, and that is Alturas, the music group Alturas. So we will now head over to the circadian room where the exhibit is already ready for you to be displayed. I want to thank our press that's here. We have Telemundo, Univision here. And we also have our own Pasadena Star News and the PCC Courier. So thank you very much, and we appreciate your time tonight.